oh no, an asteroid is coming and it's there and what are we going to do? There's a resistance and a fear base. Now it's happening on a global way. What if this asteroid that is circling the moon right now, and it's going to stick around for a while, what if that is creating a vibrational wave of moon energy that is creating more enlightenment? It's a breaking point, it's a birthing point, it's a breakthrough point. In 100 years, will this even matter? It will not. In order for something to live, something has to die.
I'd like to welcome back to the show, returning champion, Christy Whitman.
Thanks so much. I'm a three-peat.
Yes, you are. How are you doing, darling?
I'm great. So good to be here. Congratulations on your studio. This is just amazing to see where I was on those, what was like the
early, I think you might have been in like the early hundreds. So I think that's, the show was a bit different back then.
Yeah.
Size-wise, I mean. The show is pretty much still the same as far as the interactions with guests, and it was on Zoom, obviously, but it was early on. I think when you came on, I don't even know how many subscribers I had. I don't think I had a whole lot at that point.
Maybe 20,000?
Yeah, maybe it was like a 20,000. Yeah, it was.
You're just a perfect example of quantum success, going into that quantum field and then bringing that in and having it be manifested in the physical third dimension. I mean, you really are. I keep getting teary-eyed because it's just, when I see that level of success, it just, it just opens my heart. It really does, because it couldn't happen to a nicer, more hardworking person. So,
that.
It's true.
I appreciate this. I wish I could tell you it was all planned, that I had dates involved.
Right.
And like, okay, on this day, this is going to happen. On this day, this is going to happen. But it's
more fun that way when it doesn't. Because could you imagine this level of success?
No, I think it, and the success that the show has been, very overwhelming. But I've been prepped for 30 years working in the film industry, working around, high profile people and seeing what happens to them when they have a lot of attention on them, and going through my own levels of that throughout my career as a director, having a little fame there and having a little fame from my other shows as well in certain niches. I was being prepared for whatever this is.
Yeah.
And even then I'm still very kind of uncomfortable with it. I just like, you know what, I'm doing the show. I'm doing the mission that we're here to do. But, a couple dates wouldn't have been bad. If you could have told me a few things, that would have been a little bit easier in the planning. I don't need all the surprises, but
it's amazing though.
No, it's been humbling to say the least.
I'm like literally tearing. It's really cool. And you're so humble.
Oh.
That's what I love too, is that, it's just you're going with it and you're doing your thing. And
well, Christy, and I know you know this for a fact, that I'm not doing anything. It's coming through me.
Yes.
I'm being helped, because it's no logic. I haven't physically, like when you build a house, there's a piece of wood, there's some nails, there's a design, and you can physically see yourself doing something to get an outcome. Where everything I was doing on this show, I did on my other shows. Nothing changed. It was like the same grind, the same this, the same that, but the outcome has been very, very different. So that told me, when that started happening, when it took off in October, like, oh my God, it's almost going to be 2 years. October 2022 is when it actually took off. That's when the rocket ship took off. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have any idea. I had no idea what was happening. And then as it continued, I'm like, I really got to figure this out, because I can't help it. I can't know anything about it. Like, I had no idea. But at that point, I was humbled to the point I'm like, oh, I have to work. I have to do the work.
Yes.
And I have to show up, no question. And I work hard and I grind every day, and I'm here, doing my work. But there's people out there working hard, and I worked hard for 30 years, bumping my head against the wall. So I understood very, very early on in the success of whatever success we've had on this show is that I'm not in control. I gotta put the coal in the train.
Well, you're the vessel.
Yeah, I gotta put the coal in the train. Gotta keep I keep the engine flowing and keep that engine moving. But where the engine goes, where the train goes, is really not, to a certain extent, not to my my control.
Yes.
It really isn't.
But that's quantum success, though, is finding that alignment, knowing that there's something bigger than you that called you to do this. There's something bigger than you that's happening, and yet you are the one taking the action. You're taking that momentum. So it's all about that alignment and momentum. And that's what you're doing. That's why I say quantum success is all about that. You hook up to something bigger than yourself, and you receive that information, that vibration, and then you take it. You give your absolute, you're not holding anything back. You're giving everything you got. And that's just it. It's like you have access to this unlimited stream of energy, and you're not like, I'm going to phone it in today. You're fully there every single episode, all the things that you're doing behind the scenes. And that is quantum success, because it's not just you talk a lot of woo-woo, right? And you have a lot of people that come in here, including myself, that it's all about energy, and it's about, spirit, and it's about channeling and all that quantum field. But that also needs a vessel. And those that are just kind of ooh-doo-doo, it's like you're full in. You're 100% committed, whether it's to a marriage, a business, a show. It's like you're in, and you're using life, and life is using you. It's a collaborative experience every day, all day. And that's quantum success.
The one thing I found in all of my talking with like very highly successful people in the film industry specifically, Oscar winners and things like that, is that most of them, not all, but most of them understand that what made them successful didn't particularly come from them. They worked.
Yes.
No question. They showed up every day. But when I talk to, Oscar-winning screenwriters about movies that you and I love, I go, so how'd you come up with that? Like, I just sat down and I just started writing this thing. And then I would look at the page and go, who wrote that? And people who are really, really successful, and again, not all, but a lot of people who are really, really successful in any area of their life understand that it's not them.
Yes.
And it takes a certain level of being humbled to do that. By the way, I was humbled. I haven't not been this person my entire life. I've had ego. I've had, I was like, this is all me. I wanted to control everything. I was a director by nature. I'm a filmmaker. So I was like, I need to control every aspect of things. And only when I decided, once I was humbled again and again and again and again, very stubborn. When I finally just got to a point where it was just like completely humbled, to a point where like I was brought down to the lowest I could go. And then I was slowly brought back up. I was like, okay, on the way back up this time, I'm just going to let this go. And I'm just going to just trust where this whole thing is going. But this show specifically was a giant leap of faith, because it makes no sense. This show makes no sense whatsoever. It makes sense for you as a channeler,
and
a near-death
grateful,
and a near-death experiencer, or a psychic medium, or a mystic who's been studying for. I'm a filmmaker, podcaster who just asks weird questions and intriguing questions to people because I'm just curious, and that's how I came in. On paper, it makes no sense for any of this to be happening. So that's when I understand and I believe in miracles.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's true. It's like whether it's a songwriter or even that's what happened. That's what got me into this whole experience is my first book, and all of my books come through me like that. And so I was awakened in, 104 in the morning, 7 days in a row with this first book coming through me called Perfect Pictures. And it was just a clear that I was the vessel, because when I would read what I wrote, it was like, that's the information I need for what I'm going through right now. Because my mind didn't come up with it, right? It was like I was just open for that information to come through. And every single book, I have a new book next year coming out called The Flow Factor. And same thing, it's being in the flow of what's beyond you. Yeah.
So before we continue, I mean, we're talking like everybody watching knows who you are, or what you do. So like, who is this lady? She's been on the show. Should I look these other episodes up? Can you explain to people who you are and what you do as a channeler?
Yes. So I have been a coach I first became an author, just like I talked about. I was really just a seeker myself. You know, I had my sister, or I didn't have, but my sister had committed suicide. And she was 11 years older than me, but we were very tight, very close. And during that transition for her and my own healing process,
we are in a time of great change, and humanity is awakening more and more every day. Mankind needs insights on what is happening to all of us. That is why I'm inviting you to Wisdom from Beyond, a 6-day virtual summit designed to awaken your soul. Experience over 9 hours of soul-expanding channeling sessions led by 6 of the world's most esteemed channelers. Connect with the divine, receive sacred insights, and transform your journey by asking questions directly to the channelers themselves. This is more than just a summit. It is your gateway to understanding the profound shifts happening within and around all of us. Plus, when you sign up, you receive exclusive bonus content to deepen your spiritual exploration. Join us and step into the extraordinary.
Thankfully, I had started meditating and I had started working with energy before that. And so that helped me go through the healing process with her. But for me, it was like, I didn't want to end up like her. And so I really became very dedicated to healing my own negative thoughts and my lack perspective. And that's where the journey took me. So I was just hungry. I was thirsty. I anybody I could learn from. And back then, it wasn't like we had the internet. You know, it was like if I wanted to learn about spirituality, it was like you go into a metaphysical bookstore and there wasn't very many. Or like,
the metaphysical section.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And it was hidden in the back, or it was just wasn't, it wasn't cool to be there, right? It wasn't commonplace. And so I just started applying what I was reading through channels like Oren and Da-Ben. And I had a beautiful meditation teacher that saw me, and she said to me back then, "You're a channeler." And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, but so I just kept meditating, and that's where about 5 years into learning about law of attraction, learning about the law of sufficiency and abundance, which now I call the 7 essential laws, and I've been teaching those for 25 years. But I just started downloading this information that I then started applying, and I was seeing massive results. Like back in the day, I was a pharmaceutical sales rep, and I would apply what I was learning, and my team would get like just nauseated with me because our area manager would be like, okay, we're doing awards and this one goes to Christy and this one goes to Christy. And they're like, just give it to her. And finally, a couple of them said, all right, what are you doing?
Right.
Right? Like, what are you doing that is making you so successful? And so I started coaching them. And they were actually my first coaching clients. And then I saw them go from the bottom to the top, and they were applying universal principles. And so what they were doing was changing their thoughts, right? Changing them to more positive thoughts, working with their emotions, really visualizing, the things, working with affirmations, visualization, the basic stuff, contemplation, meditation. And it was amazing to see them change, and I just loved it so much. But when my book got published, I went into a bookstore to do like a workshop on it, and people were asking me, do you coach? And I had, again, this was like, I didn't coach like a cheerleading coach. I mean, I had no idea what a life coach was, but I loved the feeling of it. So I actually went and got certified, and about a couple years into coaching myself, I literally got like a surround sound effect from 4 different clients who didn't know each other within 4 days saying, I want you to certify me. And I'm like, well, I don't do that. I could tell you where I got certified. No. I want you to certify me. And so after the 3rd time it happened, after the 3rd day, I'm like, okay, I'm listening. If I was to create a certification program for Law of Attraction coaches, what would I do? Put pen to paper. I was there for a couple hours. The whole entire thing literally just downloaded modules, classes, what I would teach, what they need to know. And a couple months later, I launched the Quantum Success Coaching Academy, and this was in 2008. I had exactly 50. I said I want 50 students, 25 in the morning, 25 at night, had the exact number. It kept going. And then in 2011, it was like, whew, it just, we had 300 students a semester, 350 students a semester. And it was exciting and amazing. And all along, I was still, writing books and that sort of thing. Wrote The Art of Having It All, which hit the New York Times. Tame Your Alpha Bitch hit the New York Times. So, but then I started feeling a split. This wasn't doing it for me anymore, right? And something else was starting to come through. And for that time, it was like all of a sudden I was on a call, because we had instant teleseminar back then. We didn't have like Zoom and all that. And I was in Montreal, and this woman was in Seattle, Washington, and I had a phone, headset on, and all of a sudden I could see her, and my hands went up, and it was like they went like around her neck. And she goes, "Did you just put your hands around my neck?" And I said, "Yeah." And I couldn't put my hands down. I was like, almost fighting with it. And it was like they were just stuck. And I could feel this energy coming from my hands. And she goes, "I woke up with a really sore neck today, and it has been killing me." And I'm literally working on her. And then all of a sudden, my hands just started to drop. And she goes, "Oh my God, I feel so much better." And the very next woman that I did like a checkout, she was, again, living in Portland, and her name was Barbara. And all of a sudden I hear them. I didn't know who they were, but it was clear it wasn't just one singular, it was them. And they started saying to me, "Tell her to go get her hips checked." Okay. And I'm not a run to the doctor kind of a person, right? And so I'm kind of arguing with them. I'm not going to tell her that, right? and they're like, "Tell her to go get her hips checked." And I'm like, "Barbara, don't kill the messenger, but for some reason, I'm being guided to tell you to go get your hips checked." The next day, made a doctor's appointment. That week, she was in her doctor's office. She had cancer in her hips. It saved her life because they caught it so early on. And so that was like, okay, I think I'm an energy healer, right? So that was like another iteration of me kind of opening up to what was happening. And then as we were just talking about, in 2018, it was September 17th, 2018, all of a sudden I'm with a group of women, on a call. It just happened to be women. I also coach men. And all of a sudden this woman started talking, and I was hearing like multiple voices. It wasn't as clear as "Tell Barbara to go get her hips checked," right? It was like my kids and my husband and the dog all talking to me at the same time. It was just like, what is happening? And my consciousness went like over, I could feel as if, and I thought my body went over the chair. And I could feel that my body was, channeling someone or something. And I could hear them, and I was like, whoa, this is not me, right? And they left, and I came back in. I was crying. I'm like, oh my God, that's never happened. And the ladies on the call were like, holy, and it was the council who I started channeling. And that was just a moment that everything pivoted, everything changed. And even what I did in my business changed, and now what I offer changed. So
it's, and we've talked in our other episodes, like, did you think you were going crazy when you heard these voices, all that stuff. So anyone who wants to listen to those answers, please check out the other episodes. They'll probably be in the show notes. One thing I heard the other day was you're talking about connecting to the other side. And it always sounds very woo-woo when we hear things like that. But I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, Greg Braden, who's this wonderful. I
love Greg.
Greg is amazing. And Greg told me about this experiment that I forgot what college and what scientists did, but these are serious people. They took some neurons, raw neurons, away from everything else, put them in a dish, and connected them to a circuit board. Now, what was on the circuit board was Pong, the old video game.
Oh my gosh.
And what they found fascinating is the neurons started to play Pong. And then they got better. So they were learning how to play Pong and actually getting better at it. These are neurons. Now, Pong is that's basic of a video game that has ever been invented. For all you kids, look it up. And you're going to go, what is this? I'm like, it was the back in the day.
Right. The reason you have what you have now is because of Pong.
Exactly. And the neuron was doing that. So then he was formulating this hypothesis is like, well, there is no information in the neuron. The neuron has no brain. It has no history of Pong, how to play it, how to get better at it. So where was it getting the information? It was obviously connecting to a higher place. And I always call that connecting to the cloud for people. They're like, yeah, because our computers are very small.
Right.
Can't really do it. We can do a lot, but we can't do everything. But when you connect to the cloud, you have infinite amount of information,
Yep.
infinite amount of everything. It's a rudimentary example of what the other side is like. And it was connecting. And then we go deeper into the rabbit hole. I'm like, well, then our bodies are the antenna. Our bodies are the vessel. So if our bodies are the vessel, the higher the vibration or frequency of that vessel, the easier it is to connect to that other side. And then I was going deeper. I was like, well, then yogis, I always use yogis as an example, or masters and ascended masters or walking masters, they lift their frequency to a certain level that it's a lot easier to come in and out of that. Now, even channelers are able to do that in one station, meaning that with you, like say with the council, you can turn on that, but maybe other areas of your life aren't at that same frequency all the time,
right?
Like an ascended master or a yogi would be. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely, yeah.
But the channels have an ability to tune into 95.9, and that's where the channel comes in every time, where the yogi or the master would have all the channels of the radio station at that high level, so they can tune in whenever they want and go wherever they want, essentially. So then I went deeper, and this is a long question, so please, I want to hear your thoughts. The foods that we put into ourselves will also affect our frequency. So we put in chemicals, we put in processed foods, we put in dead food as opposed to live food, things like that will affect our frequencies and ability to really ascend.
Yes.
To raise our frequency. What do you think of that? Everything I've just said.
I 100% agree with you. It's interesting because I used to love to drink alcohol. And about a month before I started channeling the council, I would be at dinner and I'd be like, I don't feel like having a drink. Normally I'd have like a cocktail, I'd have like a Cosmo or maybe a glass of wine. All of a sudden I'd be at dinner with normal friends and no, I think we're just going to have water. Maybe I'll get, Perrier with a little like splash of cranberry juice or something. I just didn't have the desire. And ever since, I haven't had a sip of champagne, anything, for at least 6 years, over 6 years now. And I credit that to I became more open because when I would drink, whether it was a glass of wine here or there, it would lower my vibration. And right before that, I started, I used to love to drink. I loved to party. And I just couldn't handle it. If I'd have a glass of wine, I'd be up all night. My body couldn't process it, or I'd get sick just off a glass of wine. It wasn't like I was drinking the whole bottle. And so that was changing my frequency. And the same can be said about, the lower frequencies when we stress and ruminate on something.
Yep.
I mean, so it's not just what we put into our bodies, but it's also our mind, our emotions. We actually have 4 bodies. So we have the mental body, which is like what happens between our ears, like what are our beliefs, what are our perceptions, what words do we say, what thoughts do we allow? That's a big part of it. Then there's the emotional body, and all that affects the physical body. And then you have what you put in. Are you drinking water or caffeine all day long? Are you mixing it with, are you getting the proper, we all need water. And water helps to release the toxicities in our body. Are we working out? Are we allowing our bodies to sweat? To do something physical, because we are physical, where it's whether you take a Pilates class or you go hike a mountain, to be able to move our physical bodies. Those that are very sedentary and they don't do any type of physical exercise, that lowers the vibration. I mean, so these are all things that, weight loss and eat well and sleep well and, work out. And it's not just to look good, it's to feel good and to be able to connect with higher consciousness. There's a lot of people that do drugs, right? And I mean, if drugs and alcohol were a way to ascend and to, stay, there wouldn't be alcoholics. I mean, it would be the answer for enlightenment. So, I'm not against, and I'm not saying everybody has their own process and you shouldn't do it.
Absolutely.
However, but I do know that stress lowers the vibration. drugs, alcohol, foods that are, processed, a lot sugar. These are things that actually lower the vibration and we have a harder time processing in our bodies. It takes more energy to process those than if you were to eat, say, chicken, rice, and broccoli, or if someone's vegetarian, broccoli and rice, right? And be able to process that easier in our body. Our body's not working as hard if you eat a piece of chocolate cake.
Mm-hmm. Though chocolate cake is tasty.
Oh, it is. I'm not.
And that's the other thing too for everyone listening. It's not just. I mean, look, if you want to have a glass of wine, have a glass of wine.
Right.
That's fine.
Exactly.
If you want to have a piece of cake, have a piece of cake.
Exactly.
But at a certain level, I think Yogananda, a student of Yogananda's, said this. It was so beautiful. He walked up to Yogananda. He said, "Sir, I don't know about all of this, but I don't know if I could give up a lot of the stuff I'm doing." He goes, "Do you drink?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "You may continue." He goes, "Do you smoke?" He goes, "Yeah." You may continue. He goes, "Are you promiscuous with women?" And he goes, "Yes." And he goes, "You may continue." And he's like, how am I going to be enlightened if I keep doing all this? And he says very frankly, he goes, "You may continue doing all those things, but I cannot guarantee you will want to continue doing all these things after you start learning these lessons and these teachings."
That's it.
And that's the key. It's like at a certain point, it's not like, oh, I have to stop that. I tried, believe it or not, to drink. I've never drank. I physically have tried to go to wine country and do the sippings, and I'm like, I need to find a wine. I really wanted it. My body always rejected it since I was a kid. I was given a beer at 5. Just
to try it. Yeah.
Here, and it was
Yeah.
the normal reaction every human being has when they have beer for the first time, generally speaking.
Right. Yeah. Or any alcohol. It doesn't taste very good. Or a cigarette. You're like,
I had that at 7. I think someone was giving me like, here, just so you know, this is not a good situation. Have you ever done the muscle test with alcohol?
Yes.
Just if anyone listening out there, all you got to do is take a bottle of whiskey, a rum, any alcohol, vodka, whatever, just put it to your chest. Hold it to your chest and put your arm out, and then just have someone with one finger push down on it. And you will go,
yeah.
And then you take the bottle away from you, and you do the same thing, and they won't be able to move it. It's fascinating.
Do that at a grocery store.
Oh, yeah, with food.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, put some processed stuff on your chest. You look weird, but and you could see it, and then take an apple. And maybe even an organic apple or an organic banana right there, and see if you have the strength afterwards. It is pretty fascinating.
Well, it's interesting. Let's talk about this really quick because it's the whole idea of the alcohol or the weed or the sugar that gives me pleasure. Like it's the food in life that gives me pleasure, right? Sure. But it's going beyond that it's not just these things that can give you pleasure. It's also connection to our source. And that's what we're talking about, is that most people are seeking something outside of themselves, whether it's if I just have more success, then I would feel purposeful, I would feel successful, or if I just eat this or drink this or smoke this or take this, then I'm going to be okay. And it's that place within us where we're feeling the lack, where we feel like I'm not okay. And I've coached people for 25 years, and now with counsel, coming through and helping people, there's everybody always has something that they think, oh, I don't have this, but if I had it, then I'd be okay. Whether it's like you could be a gazillionaire, but you don't have a partner and you feel lonely. Or you could have a partner, but you're totally dissatisfied and you want to get out of the marriage and you feel like if I just get out of the marriage, then I'll be okay. Mm-hmm. Or if I just lose the weight, I just had the perfect body, or if I just had the kids, or if I just, whatever it is, then I'd be okay. But we have to understand that our minds create that as a go get this and then I'll be okay. But what's cool is that the very essence of energy, and we're talking next level soul, right? Our soul is with us always. And from the counsel, I like to think of it as our soul is like 5 feet above us, 5 feet below us, in front of us, behind us. It's with us all around. It's our energy field. If we're not aware of it, if we're not in tune with it, we feel like a small person that needs something else to feel okay. But when you're connecting with your soul and you understand that your soul has all of the frequencies that you could ever want and more. It's like imagining you got just this treasure chest around you, and if you feel like, I don't feel connected, you can bring in that feeling of connection.
But it's because we get caught up in this game.
Yes.
This game that we're in, the video game that we're all in.
The Matrix.
The Matrix, if you will. It is very intoxicating.
Oh, yeah.
It's extremely intoxicating. That's why we come down here.
Right. That's why we have the experience. We want to experience it.
This experience is so dense and so intoxicating because these are things that cannot be experienced on the other side, this physical reality that we're in. And when you are looking, and I've been that person. If I could just get this job, if I could just work with that person, if I could just get this guest on the show, for my older shows, not this one, this kind of stuff, then I'll be okay. And I think there was a moment that and it wasn't a conscious thing. I just stopped that.
Yeah. I
just let go of it. I think in many ways the show helped me do that because I'm nobody in this space. I can't. Sure, I would love to have that person or that person on the show, but I'll just keep grinding. And that's what I did and had no attachment to outcome. And I think that kind of spilled over to other aspects of my life. There's nothing physical out there that really has anything of any meaning to me. I could have $100 million in the bank right now. My life really wouldn't change a whole hell of a lot. I'd still probably drive the same, basic car that I drive, nothing fancy. My clothes, as you can see, are not designer. I could care less about any of that stuff. It doesn't those things I'm not intoxicated with. In other aspects of my life, food has always been a thing that I've, fallen. But now that's starting to pull away from that as much as I used to because it's something that you hold on to, and it could be anything for everybody. It could be collecting stuff. It could be food. It could be sex. It could be women, anything in the physical space.
Yeah.
But it's not easy to let go of those things when you are not looking inward for the answers. I think that's the key is once you start connecting inward, you start realizing, like Yogananda says, I'm not sure you're going to want to continue to do these things.
Well, here's why. Because the law of sufficiency and abundance, this is what we're talking about here. When someone notices I'm in the physical world and I don't have this, right? That's where our desires, that's the whole desire factor, right? My book, The Desire Factor. I want this, I don't have this, I want this, but there's this gap. So I'm not going to feel okay until I get this. So there's this perspective, which I don't have the man in my bed. I don't have the $1 million I'm not driving the car, and I don't have the whatever it is, right? So we notice that, and then we go, oh, but if I did have it, that's the key to happiness. And so then we pursue it, right? But understanding that the perspective of lack always feels bad. It doesn't matter what it is, like Cliff Note version. If you're lacking something and you have awareness that you don't have something, you're going to feel bad. But the difference is coming to a place where it's like sufficiency. It's like I like to think of it as 3 different buckets, right? There's lack, which always feels bad. Sufficiency, which feels okay. You don't feel bad. You feel good. You're at peace, right? You're content. And then there's abundance where it's like the good, higher feelings are, right? When someone's in lack, I don't have this and I'm not enough and I'm not going to be enough until I have that. We come from a place, or the universe, there's no way for me to get enough. There's not enough out there. There's not enough good men, not enough good women, whatever that is. That perspective feels bad. When we come from a place of who I am, where I'm at right now, it's good. My grandmother used to say she cries with a loaf of bread under her arm. Meaning like she's got her daily bread, but she's still crying because she doesn't have something else, right?
Of course.
So being able to, I just get that image of, having your loaf of bread. What's your loaf of bread today? Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have someone that loves you? Do you have opportunities? Are you breathing? I mean, hello, we're here. We have breath. If we have breath, we have connection. If we have connection to our abundance, our success, our love, our support, our well-being, our wholeness. And shifting that understanding that where I am in this moment, maybe it's not everything I've ever dreamed about, but it's enough right now. And that level of appreciation and gratitude, that level of presence gets us out of lack. Because then from that place, We can go, this is good. And you know what's going to be great when I get that? Like, that'll be fun. Ooh, I want to experience that. This is good. I'm not in the, oh, my life sucks. This is good. But what I dream about, what I vision, that's got legs too.
And the thing you just said there is so important is that it's difficult to do that. Very. It is something that I struggled with a lot of times because I'll be like, I look around, I'm like, I got all this stuff, but I really want that person, or I really want that person to be on the show, or I really want that job or that gig or something like that. Where now it's much easier for me, where I say like, every day I'm so grateful. I ooze gratefulness every day for my family, for what I'm doing, for the mission that I'm on with this show and everything else we're doing. Sure, I have one of the reasons why I'm doing. I guess one of the reasons why this was put in my path to do is because I have a tremendous amount of ambition, and that doesn't stop. Like a lot of people be like, I'm solid. I don't need to go anywhere else. I'm like, no, we got to do this. We got to do that. We got to do this, and I can see what's coming in my mind's eye, but it's not, and it's a driving factor to do the work that I have to do, but it's not. I'm not attaching my happiness to it.
That's it.
And that's the key.
Yes.
Is like, we all have like aspirations to be like, I want to do this. I want to have this. I want to have 11 million people listening to my show like Joe Rogan every week. I would love that.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with where I'm at right now.
And that's the perfect place to be.
Yeah.
Because if you're in the place of, why does Joe Rogan have that and I only have this, that's perspective of lack. Because that's the key, Alex. It doesn't matter actually what you have. Mm-hmm. I've coached celebrities, millionaires, top athletes, and they still can have moments of that,
of
right?
Course.
So it's this is still not enough. And it's coming and catching yourself whenever you feel down, whenever you're off, you're wanting something that you don't have, and it's coming from the place of getting out of that bucket, finding compassion that you had that thought or that you were, reeling in that kind of perspective, giving yourself compassion. Compassion feels like a really beautiful warm hug, or someone, when you're cold, wrapping you in a warm blanket or giving you a hot cup of cocoa when it's cold outside. It's like that, or getting into a warm bed with the comfort. You're like, that moment of petting a puppy, whatever it is that brings you to that place of, this is good, I'm okay, because that right there, if we're coming from lack, if we're thinking that there's never enough, that's one thing. If we're not ever satisfied, we want more. Here's the difference. You can want more and have that aspiration, but you're not coming from that, I got to have more because this isn't enough.
Right. And that's definitely not where I'm coming from.
Right.
Like, this
exactly.
is more than enough.
Yes.
Because it's dreamlike for me. Still, this is all very dreamlike for me. So for me, because I've been at that place where I was just, I need this, all this kind of stuff. And now it's not that. And I think if we just get out of our own way,
yes, everything
everything has to do with our own programming in our minds of what we believe the world is, what it owes us, what it doesn't owe us, how to deal with it, what we're entitled to. These kind of things are what get in the way. I think with meditation, it does kind of calm a lot of that down over the years, because it just you start to connect to that deeper place in meditations where that stuff is ridiculous. And maybe because I've spoken to so many people who've died and come back, and near-death experiencers, that perspective has changed so dramatically. Nothing we do here, in general, while we're here, the things we do affect people.
Yes.
For a select few, the things that we do now will affect generations. There are people we still talk about, Jesus, Buddha, many others who drop a stone so big that the ripples ripple through time. But I think I forgot who said this, but it just hit me like a ton of bricks. He goes, in 100 years, there'll be strangers living in your house, and no one will remember you. In 3 generations, if anyone even says your name, it'll be a miracle. And you start thinking about that, you go, so why do I care about what anyone thinks?
Yeah.
Why do I care about what anybody says about me? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
But while we're here, because we are matter, it matters.
It does. It does affect us.
Yes.
But to have the perspective of like, that Look,
Yeah.
someone's going to throw a punch in your face. It matters.
Oh, yeah.
That's right in
Yeah,
front of you.
it's gonna hurt you.
It's
Yeah.
it's in the now.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, a lot of these things that we worry about.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't.
We
doesn't.
think it does, but it doesn't. Yeah.
Because of the programming, because of what we see in the media, because of all this kind of stuff, it doesn't really matter. And I think that's also age. As you get older,
Yes.
hopefully you look back at the things you worried about when you were 20, and things that were. And well, let's go back to our teens. Everything was the end of the world
Oh,
back
my
then.
God, yeah.
Everything was the end of the world back then. I have young kids now, and I see it. I'm like, oh my. It's like everything is like, oh my God. They're like, you need to calm down.
Right.
And we always said, like, 2 years, you're not even going to remember who these people are. Stop it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they go, you know how many friends we still have from high school? 0. You know how many friends I have from middle school? Absolutely 0. Do you have no one? No, it's very rare to keep those kind of friendships for long periods of time. So, like, stop it. Just enjoy the ride.
Yes.
And go through it. But it's
Well,
pretty
it's
fascinating.
interesting you say that because some don't ever get it. My dad just
Yes,
passed.
correct.
My dad just passed less than 6 months ago, and he was ruminating at night, couldn't sleep at night, was thinking, rolling the tapes of all the wrongs he did and all the ways he messed
himself
up.
up. Beating himself
Just
up.
with a big old stick, And the minute, now I have different perspective and I know this, right? But the minute he transitioned, it was like, this is a party. Oh my God. It was like and I even felt it and saw it when he passed. I felt my sister come in the room, his mom and dad, his best friend that passed on. It was like, it was a very full room and they were all celebrating him. And it was like this just, yay. And he was almost like, oh my gosh, worried about what's going to happen on the other end to my soul, to me. Am I going to purgatory? Am I going to be in hell?
Of course,
that whole
yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And just to the last minute that he took his last breath, in his head worrying, when on the other side, there's absolutely nothing to worry about.
It's a game.
It is.
It's a game. It is a game, and I don't want to dismiss it as a game only, but this is a simulation. We go through all these things here to experience them.
Yeah.
But I think we are our worst enemy. I really, truly believe that. If you're worried about what somebody else is thinking about you right now, I promise you they're probably not thinking about you because they've got their own crap to deal with.
They're thinking about themselves.
Because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
humanity
Yeah.
as a general statement. But we're like, what do you think she thinks about me? Or what do you think? Like, she doesn't think about you.
She's not.
He's not thinking about you right now.
Yeah.
I promise you. It's that thing. But I think that I think everyone's kind of elevating a little bit more nowadays, but with conversations like this and books. And I mean, it's getting better than it was. But I think it's generational too.
It is.
I think our generation is a transition generation because we had one foot in the old and we have one foot in the new. We understand what it was before the internet. We also understand what it is after the internet. I remember no remote control and bunny ears
Oh, yeah.
with aluminum foil, and then I would have to sit there and hold it sometimes for my parents to watch their show, or where we are now, where everything is on our phone and we have instant
Right.
access to everything.
But what's interesting is more people now are uncertain and they don't know what to do with that uncertainty.
Correct.
And with everything, happening in the political climate and, different things that are happening to the planet, so many people are scared and uncertain. And what we have to understand is that, the President of the United States doesn't create your own reality. You
Nope.
do.
Yeah.
We have our life, what's in front of us in this present moment. I mean, people have talked about this, leaders and, spiritual teachers have talked about this forever. All you have is the now, and yet at the same time, all time is simultaneous because you have the past affecting you and you're affecting the future. But our future thoughts are affecting us now. And that's the key, is that when we are so out of the now, when we're worrying about what's going to be happening that we don't have control in, and there's always going to be uncertainty because the future is never set in stone. We could visualize it, we could connect with our future self, but still there's a gap. And if we're in our now worried about what's going to be happening in the future and here's the thing, what we think we're going to feel when, we're not feeling now. We're not living now. We're not connected now.
Well, we're worried about what has happened, and we're worried about what is going to happen.
Correct.
But we don't never worry about what is happening right at this moment, unless there's a tiger literally going to eat you.
Which there usually isn't.
Generally speaking, there usually isn't. But we create our own tigers to worry about as well. So we're in constant state of worry. Then the media, what's going on. We have access to things that are, if you lived in a farm in the middle of Kansas somewhere in the 30s or 40s, you had no idea there was a world war going on.
Right.
No idea. No idea. I mean, unless you turned on the news,
right,
and there was 3 channels, and that was all the information. There could be a war 50 miles away, like a full-blown war.
Yeah.
People dying by hundreds or thousands. You wouldn't have known about it.
Yeah.
But now we know everything that's happening everywhere around the world instantly. So when we start worrying about things that we have absolutely no control over.
Right.
We have no control over all of the insanity that is happening around the world.
All we have control over is the words that we speak. That's why I always tell people go to watchyourwords.com, because it tells you what not to say, why, and what to say instead. Because when you're like, I can't seem to do this, stop saying can't, because that blocks your energy right there. Right? Mm-hmm. Oh, I should have. And now you're beating yourself up for something that you should have done when you cannot change the past. Right? It's like we have our words that we say, which are powerful. We have our thoughts. We have our beliefs, our perspectives. We have our emotions, and we have our actions. Mm-hmm. That's all we have influence on. And I don't know about you, but your wife, your kids, the president, whoever can't get inside my head and choose my thoughts for me.
No.
They can't speak the words that are coming out of my mouth. That's all up to me. And the higher I go with my higher mind, and like I was saying, having that perspective of my soul, I mean, just doesn't that comfort you to know that your soul is all around you?
Oh, yeah.
And is always, never goes below that space of compassion, is an absolute love for you and absolutely adores you. I have a story. My son was turning 14, right? And so he manifested. It was incredible. He manifested a half a day of school, because I'm like, whatever, the whole school year, they've never done a half a day, right? So I was like, good for you for manifesting. So I drop him off, and I've got, all right, I got 3 hours to, go get the balloons and the cake and the food for tonight and all that, and to have the house decorated for him, because I still like to do surprises. So I'm running around. I was at 3 different grocery stores, Target, the whole thing. And I put my cart away 3 out of the 4 times. I had a small little cart, and there was cake in the car, balloons. It was hot. I live in Arizona. So instead of going and putting the cart away like I did, other times, I put the cart on top of a curb away from the cars, so people could park. So I'm in my car, and I see this woman walking across the parking lot with this eye. She's like giving me that just evil eye. She walks over to the cart that I just put and deliberately is staring at me and is walking the cart. So I roll down the window and I go, thank you. And she goes, you're the lazy. And I was like, oh, I'm lazy? And if anybody knows me, I am so not lazy, sure. Right? So, but I'm in my head the whole time driving home, arguing with this woman. I am not lazy, and I'm a hard worker, and the whole thing. Because here's the thing. This is the whole new book. It's the flow factor. We as human beings, when something bushwhacks us like that, or, some rug gets pulled out, or someone that we don't even know judges us or says something like that, or has their own persecution of us, we go either into fight mode, flight mode, or freeze mode. And it's like, what do I do? So I'm a feisty one, right? So I usually do the fight mode, and I'll fight with myself and some stranger that is not even who I don't know, and I'm doing this, and I'm like, what am I doing? You know what? I know it doesn't matter. Compassion to me, I'm a hard worker. And then I heard the counsel come in. What if you were lazy? What if you were lazy? No, I'm not lazy, right? That's the defense part of it. I'm not, though. I'm a hard worker. I grind. But what if you were? We still love you. Your soul still loves you. Can you love yourself? Mm-hmm. And as soon as I was like, sometimes I am lazy. When I like to get massages every week, that's lazy.
That's not lazy.
But see, here's the thing, right?
Right.
Oh, when I lay on the couch after a hard day's of work, sometimes I just don't feel like doing anything. Sometimes I have lazy moments. But why is that bad, right? It's that word, lazy. And so what's really interesting is that night, right?
It's a charged word, yeah.
That night I was bringing my mom to dinner so she could celebrate with us. And I told her this story. And she goes, oh, your father hated that. He would get so mad when someone wouldn't put their card away. And he would just be like, they're lazy, late, and there was this judgment. And I went, oh, there's the imprint. From a young age, I cannot be lazy because lazy is bad. So here's the thing. We observe something, whatever we're observing, and then our minds either judge it to be bad or to be good. If it's like I'm observing something and, hey, that's good, okay, we continue on and we feel good about it. Mm-hmm. But what if we observe something and then we judge ourselves or someone else, like that woman was judging me? Mm-hmm. The card is the card. I didn't put the card away. So in that observative moment, right, observing that, she judged me for being bad or wrong, and then I then took it to be bad and wrong too, because that's what I heard all my life. You don't want to be lazy. And she's, right, so that's the programming. And then, but if you give yourself compassion and go, you know what?
It's all good.
It's all good.
Well, the thing
does it really matter?
Well, first of all, it doesn't matter in the least. 100 years from now, there'll be strangers in your house. Just throwing that out there. But the thing is that has much more to say about her than it does about you.
Right.
I mean, anytime I don't know about you, but I love to read my comments, and so does my wife. They're beautiful, and I get a lot of love. But every once in a while, we'll get people that'll say negative things, and I find them hilarious now. I used to be the fighter. I used to be like, oh hell no! You would go in there. That was years ago when I released my first movie. People gave me a bad review. I'm like, oh no, you didn't. And I would go after them, and I'm like, you're not going to go after every single bad comment, are you? I'm like, yes, I am. I have nothing to do, and I would just sit there for hours doing it. So I burned that out. But now I look at it and I find it hilarious. Like when they'll say something that's so blatantly disconnected from what I'm doing or who I am, I'm like, wow, that person's going through some stuff, or they really have. Because for you to sit down and start writing and posting, there's something, you know, because a lot of people think these things, but to say it, you know, or email, even better. The emails are even better when they go emailing it. And I'm like, wow, you decided to take time out of your day to do this. This says volumes about you. It has nothing to do with me.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with. If it's not me, it's somebody else.
Right. Oh, that's it.
They're working their own stuff out.
Well, that's being part of the drama triangle, is that if someone needs to persecute, and that's where I'm like, wow, she probably feels better about herself because she rescued the parking lot and a cart and got to persecute me for her own, you know.
Let me ask you this. And I don't know if anyone's ever said this before, but I think this is a term. If it hasn't been coined, I'm going to coin it. Karen culture. The Karen culture here in the States is a thing, and it's not only the States. I've seen Karens. Poor woman whose name Karen.
I know. There's some
lovely
Karens.
I know lovely Karens.
Lovely Karens.
But unfortunately, that is the name that has been
correct.
That has been the label that's been created for these ladies. And it's not only ladies, it's guys too now. They're like, oh, it's a male Karen. It's hilarious to watch. Why do you think now there is so much more of this entitlement or this kind of Karen culture that is, it's infesting it's insane. And you watch them, and sometimes it's race related, or sometimes it's bigotry, but sometimes it's just straight up, how dare you?
Right.
Kind of culture. There was nothing like this when we were growing up.
Right.
I mean, there really wasn't. You never.
It was in your family, but
obviously there were Karens constantly in our families berating us,
but not in the streets.
That cart story.
Yeah.
That would have never happened in the 80s or 90s. Like, can you imagine? But now it's very common. And it's older folk too sometimes, but it's also some people in our generation, younger generations, Gen Z and so on, millennials. So I'm just curious, what's the energy that's causing that
It's anger.
now.
It's anger.
Is it that's
There's
what it is?
so much anger. And, I talk about the drama triangle, and let's just break that down. The drama triangle is something that Stephen Cartman, a psychologist, created in the 60s. It was like 1967 or something. And it's the way that we relate with each other. And so you have three aspects. You have the rescuer, who is kind of like the good guy. You have the persecutor, who is the bad guy. And then you have the victim. Right? So a lot of people, we will change between those roles within the drama triangle. And so someone that's like, I've done everything, I'm going to do everything, and I'm overdoing. And, a lot of light workers and people that are in service work, they want to rescue, they want to save everybody. Mm-hmm. I used to do that with my ex-husband, right? I want to tell him, I want to teach him all the stuff I know. And he'd be like, I could care less, and I'd be like, I've given you all the books, I've helped you, Dad. But, he didn't want to change. He wanted to just complain about his situation. He wanted to play a victim. But when I was trying to save him and I couldn't save him, then I would become a victim. I've done everything and you don't care, right? It's like this whole, and it's an entrapment. And there's an angry victim, which a lot of people, if they're just angry about where they are, nothing ever works for me and it doesn't matter, and they're just feeling this sense of entitlement, but this anger. And then there's the persecutor, who wants to blame everybody else, mm-hmm. sees something the way that should be done.
In their opinion.
That's it. And so this woman, perfect example, I should have, in her mind, put the cart back, and if I didn't, it meant I'm lazy, right? And so she had to, show her disapproval, and by doing that and making it a very public thing, that she's stuck in the drama triangle. And guess what? I got right in there with her, because I was like, what? Me? I had a reaction to it. As soon as I got myself out of it, which is that, because drama triangle is lack. If we're in the drama triangle, mm-hmm. if you're in anger, if you're in resentment, all of that is just harboring. And the minute it's like it's an opportunity for someone, like on social media, someone doesn't feel good about themselves or they're angry, mm-hmm. someone else. I had a wonderful story about meeting John Stamos, who was, I got to tell you the story, it was so much fun, but I had a crush on him since I was like a young kid. He was Blackie on General Hospital. That's how far back I go.
You're going deep.
Oh, yeah. And I happened to be at the beach in Huntington Beach, and his son, thinking that I was his wife, runs up to me, and we're both like shocked because my kids weren't there and they're not little anymore. And his wife was over there, and she's like, over here, right? So his son did that again. He wasn't there. His son like went to the beach and was collecting crabs, and he runs back up to me again. And we're both like, nope, not me, right? So he runs over to his mom, and his mom and I were giggling and laughing about this. So I'm on the phone with my editor, and I'm talking, looking at the ocean, and all of a sudden I notice there's a man sitting with this woman now. So I jokingly said, hey, sir, you're going to have to leave, otherwise your son won't run up to me. And he turns around and he smiles, and I'm like, I gotta go. John Stamos is literally on the beach next to me. So I just kind of look over at him, and he looks over at me, and I go, I just realized who you are. And I go, I used to have a poster of you when I was in 8th grade. He's like, yeah, that was like 45 years ago. I'm like, thanks. So he goes, I didn't want to bother him. It's with his family, the whole thing. And so all of a sudden I hear him go, you want to take a picture? And I'm like, okay. So I go over, and we started getting this conversation. Blew me away. He knows my books, and he knows my,
oh, wow.
I know. And then he asked me for my phone number, and I'm like, if my 13-year-old self is behind me, I'm acting all stoic, right?
No.
My 13-year-old self is like, John Stamos has my mind, freaking out. But the whole thing, what was my point of all this?
John Stamos. It's John Stamos.
It's just John Stamos. Oh yeah. So I posted a picture on Facebook, right? And this is like literally my last week of being on Facebook. I posted a picture. I said, if anybody knows me, and this is on my personal page, if anybody knows me, you know that this is a big deal. And some of my girlfriends from like 8th grade were like, oh my God, your 8th grade self is freaking out right now, and there's all these positive comments. Like you said, one woman's like, oh my God, you guys are all acting like he's the second coming of Christ, and what's the big deal, and get over yourself. And I'm like,
can you just let the people enjoy themselves?
Exactly. But this is an opportunity for someone that's unhappy, that
Correct.
right, to be able to. It's like a release, a little release valve for them, because they don't know how to let go of their anger, or their resentment, or their jealousy, or their envy.
So I'll tell you my story, my John Stamos story. But it's not John Stamos. I don't think I've ever said this on the show before, so this is a fun show. This is a fun deal. A lot of people know I'm a big Star Wars fan. Yoda's behind me right now. He's always near me, and that was honestly the first real connection to spirituality was the Star Wars films with the concepts of the Force and and I mean I was a recovering Catholic, but that but the spirituality, not religion, but the spirituality aspect was really the first introduction to Eastern thought, Eastern philosophies with Star Wars, and every guy my age would love to meet George Lucas. And, it's impossible. How could I meet George Lucas? And one day I'm editing in my office in my suite that I had in Toluca Lake in L.A. And my buddy goes, "Hey, man, George Lucas is having lunch next door." I'm like, "Shut up. There's no way." And he's like, "No, go next door." And I walk over, and there's George Lucas eating lunch with his daughter. And I know it's his daughter because I've seen every behind-the-scenes footage of the making of Star Wars since the beginning. Right. So I knew who they were. And I'm like, I just walked in real chilled, and I looked like I was going to buy something, and then I'm like, walk back out. I'm like, oh my God. It's George Lucas. I was like 30 something at the time. This is years ago. I was like 30 something at the time. And then, the funny thing is, this is how the universe is so beautiful. I've always wanted to have a Star Wars lunchbox. Just always wanted a Star Wars, like old metal lunchbox. So I bought a replica one. Nothing old, nothing classic, but just a nice little replica. It arrived that morning at 9 o'clock. And then at 12 o'clock, I would have left to go home for lunch, where I would have taken that lunchbox to my home office, and that's where I would have lived. Wouldn't have lived at my studio office. He was eating lunch around 11. So that lunchbox was in the 3-hour window, or 4-hour window that had to be in order to get it signed. Now, the fun part about this story is then I all of a sudden turned into like a Taylor Swift fan, and I'm like, oh my God, it's George Lucas, oh my God. And then every other grown-ass man in the entire place was like, oh my God, it's George Lucas, oh my God. We're all sitting there like Tay-Tay fans, just sitting there waiting, and I'm like, okay. And we're planning on how am I going to go do this. I had an autograph pen for my clients for posters. So I had everything here. And I'm like, okay, I can't walk up to him because I don't want to interrupt him with his daughter. Right. And he'll see me coming because I'm at that age, what I was a 38, 39-year-old man with a Star Wars lunchbox in my hand and a pen. He'd see me coming from a mile away. Oh my God. So I was like, this is my whole plan. I was like, okay. So there was a limo out front parked, which is his limo, I guess, I was like, I'll just wait out here, and when he hits the sidewalk, that's when I'll hit him, because that's fair game, right? He's done, and I can hit him there. And George doesn't sign. He hasn't signed in years, because he doesn't have to and doesn't particularly want to. So his autographs are very rare. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay. And I'm like, really to jazz him. And the other guys were like, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And then the 65-year-old receptionist, she turns to me, she goes, what are you guys doing? I'm like, oh, George Lucas is next door, and we're going to get his autograph. And I'm like, why are you guys freaking out? It's just George. It's just a guy. I go, it's George Lucas. He created Star Wars. Don't you understand? And then she's like, do you want me to go get it?
You got me crying. Oh my gosh, this is hilarious.
She goes, do you want me to go get it? I go, oh, he'll never see you coming. He'll never see a 65-year-old woman coming. Oh my God, that would be amazing. So he's like, give me the thing. He goes, buy me lunch. I'm like, oh, I'll buy you lunch. Don't you? I'll buy you lunch for a week if you get me this autograph. So I told her, I go, just tell him to make it out to Alex, because I'll never sell it. Let him know that, because it'd probably be worth a couple $1,000, to be honest with you, right, on eBay. But I go, just tell him to make it out to Alex, and tell him I'll never sell it. So she walks over there and she sees George, and she goes, Mr. Lucas, I have a friend of mine next door. He really wants to get an autograph, and it would mean the world to him. He says to make it out to Alex because he's never going to sell it. And his daughter turns to him and goes, Dad, just sign it. And George signed it. And he brought it back, and It's still in my home office, under glass, and it's one of my prized possessions in the world. It means a lot to me because of the influence and what that man did for me in my journey.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one, by the way,
Oh,
that Star Wars affected. But that was just an example of kind of putting that out there in the world, because the universe knew
Yeah.
that I wanted an autograph with George Lucas.
Yeah.
And I knew, and they just kind of waited for the moments to be, because it just was magical.
It was, yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
magical. And it got to a place where everything was aligned. And if I wouldn't have taken action, it would have just drove by. I've had many of those, by the way.
Yeah.
Opportunities that just flew right by because I didn't take action, even though the universe put it right in front of me, because I was scared or whatever.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, you are taking actions. That whole quantum success, it's alignment and then the momentum. You got to take the action. And that's where, if you're afraid or you've got the doubt or who am I, or I don't want to bother him, or any of that other,
I knew this was a once in a lifetime. And I always wondered, I was like, why is George Lucas in Burbank? Like, what's the point of this? 3 weeks later, he sold Lucasfilm to Disney. That's what he was doing. He was doing meetings at Disney, which I lived right down the street from. And I was like, oh, that makes sense, because he's from San Francisco. There's no reason for him to be down there.
right.
And that's my George Lucas story. So when he sits in this room one day, I'm putting it out there, to do an interview about the spirituality of Star Wars.
Oh, that would be so good, because it's true.
I'm putting it out there. He did one with Bill Moore a while ago, Bill Moyer, about the spirituality of Star Wars. So he did a long special about that once. I'm geeking out, and I apologize. I'm super geeking out right now. But it is, like The Matrix is another film like that opened up a lot of things, not only me, but in the world.
Yeah.
There are certain films that come out that throw concepts out into the world that really shapes the zeitgeist. Star Wars, The Matrix, even the Marvel films with the multiverse and parallel realities is putting it in a way that everybody knows.
Mainstream.
It's mainstream. People
Yeah.
are talking about it and things
Yeah.
like that. So anyway, you just inspired me with your story of John Stamos. I thought I'd share my George Lucas story.
I love
it's
it.
one of my favorite.
Great story.
Yeah, I mean, I would meet people in my other show. They would go, "I've been watching you for years." I'm like, "You've been watching me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've read your book." I'm like, "You read my book?" Like and it's humbling and it's weird. I'm like,
it is.
I'm like, I idolized you for what you did, and I
Right.
studied your path, and wow, that's kind of.
Yeah, that was that moment for me where he goes, "Well, what's your name?" And because I said I'm a New York Times bestselling author, he goes, "What's your name?" I go, "Christy Whitman." He goes, "I know Quantum Success." I'm like, John Stamos knows my book, and he goes, "Babe, she wrote Quantum Success." She's like, "Oh yeah." I'm like,
What is happening?
What is Am I
happening
being
right now?
punked? Yeah, I mean, my 13-year-old self staring at that poster of Blackie,
And this is something very interesting. And then we'll move on, because I can geek out all day.
Me too on John Stamos.
But the thing is that there are things that we thought that would never happen when we were younger, in life, that you would never be able to do this, or you never be able to do that. And again, because of the age that I am, and how many circles around the sun we've gone through, I look back and I think, I remember working in a video store, and when I was in high school, and picking up the box of this movie, and then I become friends with who made that movie, or they ask me for advice, or things like that, and I'm like, this is surreal.
Yeah.
It's absolutely surreal. So it proves to me that not only is anything possible in this reality, literally almost anything, as long as it's within the path of what you want to do, meaning if I want to become an astronaut right now, or an NBA player, probably not going to happen. It's a general statement. I'll give it a good show, but I think after the first practice, my knees would be like, nah, we're gonna slow you down, brother.
Maybe the Harlem Globetrotters.
Exactly. Maybe the water boy. But within the realm of your path and what you're supposed to do, even giving it some leeway, nothing is really impossible. This is impossible. What you've accomplished in your career is impossible. Most people look at you and they'll go, "Oh my God, look at this. Look what she's done, and this and that." And it's possible. And I think maybe that perspective has changed because I've spoken, I've done 1,500 interviews at this point in my career, and I've spoken to a lot of high-profile people I never thought I would sit down for an hour and talk to. but then also looking at their own journeys, and their journeys, they're just human beings who got lucky, worked hard. Luck is
we're aligned.
Yeah, but they just figured things out, got opportunities, took action, so on and so forth. It kind of humbles you to the sense that you're like, oh, we're all just human beings, you know?
They put their pants on the same way I do.
Right. And so when people are looking at other people as like idols and things like that, you know, of course I idolize, you know, not George Lucas for the same reasons that you idolize John Stamos, though he's a very attractive man. But they're just people.
Yeah.
Trying to do things and trying to figure things out. And as this life continues to go, the miracles that happen on a daily basis in my life are pretty remarkable. And they're miracles that I have little to do with.
Well, that's why I love your show. I love what you do. I love that you give a platform for people like me that is you know, where we considered woo-woo, because most of the rest of media and social media and all the stuff that's going on, it's feeding into people's insecurity. It's feeding into people's uncertainty. And what you're doing is you're elevating the consciousness of the planet by gathering all these people to have these conversations, to make this more mainstream, to be able to ask the questions like, did you think you were going crazy when you heard the voices, right? Because that's what other people that aren't necessarily in this space are feeling. I mean, because there was a time when this wasn't my normal reality. You know, I remember walking into my meditation teacher's house, and she had clinky music and, you know, candles and Buddhas and the whole thing. And I was like, where? And then she brought me into her living room. There was no couch. It was a cushion, and go ahead and sit down. And I was thinking, what in the world am I doing? And she looked right into my eyes. It was like first time ever someone looked deep into my soul, and she said, you create your own reality. And when she said that, it was like, yes, I do. I don't know how I know that because I never heard that before, but it was like something just opened up in me. And that's what your show is doing. It's opening up those moments for people. And that's huge because those aha moments, as Oprah would call it, or those shifting moments, or when you have a different perspective where it's like, wow, could that be true? That creates a whole, it's like getting out of limitation and creating a whole new awareness and a new alignment.
Without question. So, speaking of woo-woo, I think it's time to bring in the council.
Okay.
Can you explain to people how you channel, what's your process, because everyone channels a little bit differently, and what happens to you and all that kind of stuff?
Well, first of all, they're always around me, so it's not like I have to go get them. You know,
Council, we're ready.
Hey, yo,
bring it in.
Bring it in. Yeah, they've been with us in this entire conversation. They're never far. Like our souls, you know, everything looks very physical, right? And it's like that what we can't see is the non-physical, but just as real as this energy right here is the council or this, you know, this is a desk, this is a water, this is a microphone, you know, we can see that and go, this is real because I can see it, you know, touch it kind of thing. When you start to meditate more, when you start to, and I've been doing this for personally 30 years, but when you start to know the feeling and the essence of energy around you, right? There's a lot between my nose and your nose right now, a lot of support, a lot of love, a lot of all that. That's the council. It's energy, it's consciousness. And so the council itself, they're a group of consciousness. It's a group of ascended masters, and you know, they channel through others. You've had Sarah on your show, and you know, they're always different though because they take a different vessel. So and you'll find that in different shows, like Sarah and I might say, when I'm channeling the council, it might say similar things. It's different. The language might be different, the way we say it, the examples, but it's her vessel. It's my vessel. It's my consciousness that
filter.
Yeah, it's a filter. Yeah. So I bring in that energy and then I let my own consciousness go. And that block of energy that comes in, it gets interpreted through me and what I know. And so that's kind of what happens in that scenario.
Got it. But you are here, but you're off the side.
Not anymore. When I've given myself to just fully be, it's like I'm taking a nap.
And you don't remember any
No.
of it? Nothing.
Here's the difference, and I think we've talked about that before, where if you were to then afterwards go, hey, the council talked about this, it's almost like, oh, yeah, like it's a dream. I don't know the details of it.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what a lot of people say and again, some people remember everything.
Yeah.
And some people remember absolutely nothing. And some people have this dream-like thing. You know, I have a unique perspective.
Yes. Yes.
So talking to so many
Yes.
of you weirdos, to be honest.
Happy to be a weirdo.
We have to wave that weirdo flag. All right, whenever you're ready, I have a handful of questions I would like to ask the
Okay,
council.
awesome. Let me go get them. We are here. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
We are delighted to be in your presence.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So my first question to you is, the biggest question I get from people is, what is happening to the world today, and what can we do about it individually for our own lives?
Well, much like you were talking with Christy, all of you have your own consciousness. And where you were all talking about food and alcohol and things, but the input that you bring into your mind, like if someone, we like to call that the hypnotic scroll of social media, for example. If you're seeing all this polarization, all of this hate, and all of this against them, this is feeding consciousness. And so a person that is not involved in a conversation like this, or doesn't meditate, or even if they do, if they're feeding more of their mind with negativity of the doom and gloom of what can be, this is filling up their consciousness. And all of you create from your consciousness. You create by what you think about and what you visualize, what you focus on. And so by focusing on the things that scare you and the things that are out there in the world that are horrific, you're filling your mind up with that. And that's, of course, then affecting your vibration. However, if you are focusing, and this is what Christy said to you, when you're watching your show and you are having channelers like us, it gives a different perspective. You are helping human beings right now have a different level of input. And that input then creates an output, because you are all energy receivers and you are all energy containers. And what people talk about law of attraction, what you're sending out, then you attract to you. And when you are inputting on even books that are scary and about history and about what went wrong versus learning about your mind and how it's mind over matter and how it really is about your energy and mastering your energy, this is what's happening, and it's creating a split. It's a time of rebirthing, really, where the old is breaking down and the new is beginning. And it's thought leaders like yourself and those guests that you have on this show that are creating this new world, that are creating this new higher understanding of really what Earth is. It is a playground. And if you start to look for, here's the big difference, Alex, is are you moving towards and focusing on the pleasures of life, or are you pushing against and avoiding the pain? Because all of you have brains that do that. We've been helping people ignite and reactivate their pleasure centers because most people, by living life, have wanted to, I don't want that experience again. I don't want to lose money. I don't want to have my heart broken. I don't want to not have things work out. I don't want to have someone yell at me in the middle of a parking lot that I'm lazy, right? So those kind of push against, that resistance creates more of an avoidance of pain than a turning and focusing on the pleasures of what is good, what is right, not right or wrong, but right alignment, where you find and feel guidance that is there, tuning into what you've either known or what you're projecting in your future versus being in the now with your soul that loves you unconditionally. We always say you are infinitely loved. And it doesn't matter if you are going out and busting it or you're being on the couch and watching a movie. You're loved either way.
Makes perfect sense. Now, another concern that a lot of people are having is this asteroid that is coming towards our planet. It's a small little guy, but apparently he's going to stick around for a little while and circle our moon. Does that have any significance? Because in my lifetime, I've never heard anything like that. I haven't heard about anything like that in the history of the cosmos.
In movies, you have.
In movies, of course, but not in... movies is a big asteroid that's going to destroy us.
Right.
But a small little asteroid that kind of comes and just circles the moon for a while, I've never heard of that before. What does this have any significance to our change, our evolution, our awakening, anything that has any kind of anything to do with what's happening with our planet and with us?
It's all in the perspective. So if you are, oh no, an asteroid is coming and it's there and what are we going to do? There's a resistance and a fear base, right? Mm-hmm. This does not mean be Pollyanna and stick your head in the sand and that bad things can't happen. But it is the focus on what if this asteroid that is circling the moon right now and it's going to stick around for a while, what if that is creating a vibrational wave of moon energy that is creating more enlightenment? What if this is going to create more balance and stability in your world? What if it awakens more people to their human power? Because all that is possible too. So it really is every single one of you, because you have your own free will and choice, you have your own consciousness, will interpret it differently. Mm-hmm. And so looking at it as a cosmic event, the cosmos are for you. Mm-hmm. The moon, the sky, the stars, even asteroids, all of it is here for you, for growth, for expansion, for pleasure. So this happening will have a positive effect as long as you are focused on the positive outcome and future.
So then my next question will go to...
We always love it. You ask the tough questions.
I try.
Yes.
I try. I like to go deep.
We do too.
So the solar flares that are happening currently right now, a lot of people are fearful of what's going to happen, and there's going to be this big blackout and all these kind of things. But there is technically solar flares always happening, but they're bigger now, and I think our magnetic field is either thinner or something along those lines, something that would be there to protect us from this. It's going to affect us in a way. What is this energy? What is this purpose for, again, our planet and for our awakening?
This is a really good question. Solar flares, when you think about it, they are like vortexes of energy. And you can tap into all of that. You can get energized by them. See, most people look at it as, oh, that's a negative. And this is, again, these times of Lion's Gate and these times of the equinox and all these different portals. And you have portals of energy all the time. As Christy was saying, your soul is like a portal of high vibrational vortexual light. But when you have these are moments of calling in energies that have not been on the planet yet. And it's interesting because the news and a lot of the media will say, oh, these are the worst of times. And if you look at history, when you were a kid in the 70s, people that were older would say, what has the world come to? And this is the worst of times. Go back and research Time magazine from the 50s, 60s, 70s. You will see it's the same propaganda. Mm-hmm. So it's just other things that now you have more technology that can go, oh God, there's an asteroid going around the moon. Oh God, there's solar flares. And it's one more thing. Focus on what the doom and the gloom, something to fear and worry about. So you can spend, and we like that, in 100 years, there's going to be strangers living in your house. In 100 years, will this even matter? It will not. Mm-mm. But what does matter is that you are in a physical matter body. You are in a physical time where you are breathing. Full universal consciousness is available to each and every one of you. And so do you look at, here it is. Like the cross that Christ was nailed to, you have this dimension, that is multidimensional, and there's divine design is support and love and abundance and success and wholeness and oneness. This dimension is available to you, but most are focused on this dimension. And most in this third dimension, we're talking fourth, fifth, sixth dimension, right? Most that are focused on this one are in doom and gloom, are in fear and worry. And the mind projects into the future what it knows to be true of the past. So you take your now moment and you squander it by worrying about this or that or that. It really is, will this asteroid affect me personally? Like Christy was saying, she just did a video on her YouTube channel. The President of the United States, is he going to really, or she going to really affect your daily life? She or he will, if you allow. If you worry about it, then it is affecting your daily life. It's like watching someone on social media and you all were talking about that. And if you feel negatively about it, and then you feel you need to then tell everybody your negative opinion so that you feel heard, it's really coming because someone's lonely. They are not being validated. They're not being heard. They're not being understood. They don't feel loved. They don't feel that they have what they want. And so they need to make themselves known, whether it's negative or not, to be able to state their opinion. And a lot of times it's an avenue through which they release what they're feeling inside, and so they spew it on somebody else. And that's like you were talking about. That's within their own consciousness. But that is affected. You have an energetic mass consciousness vibration. Think of it. You used to live in LA. That haze, that
pollution
right,
haze, yeah.
the haze. But it's like when you fly in an airplane and it could be cloudy, and you go in the airplane and you live and you go above the clouds. You can see down below there's clouds, but now you're above it. And when you're identified in this third dimension and you're picking up on all the worries that everything is happening in this third dimension, you're not connected. And we want you to connect to your stream of energy, bring it into your own vessel, your own mind, your own emotions, your own energy field, because then you are affecting the waves in this third dimension.
Makes perfect sense.
Yes.
So you mentioned the Lion's Gate. What is that? Can you explain to the audience what the Lion's Gate is?
Yes, it's, again, from a portal perspective, it is a time when more energy, the planets align and things, there's a transition of old and new. It's an opening. And in these different times, you have different periods. You might have your eclipses and all these different things that happen on your planet. From a general perspective, look at it as an opportunity to declare and intend what you want to hold. Not necessarily, and yet you could, what you want to create or do, but more importantly, what you want to be in this next iteration of your human experience. Because all of you here, you've never been here before. It's never been like this before. Those will have you believe, oh, the doom and the gloom and all that. They'll even tell you it's never been this bad. It's never been this. Don't listen to it, because you all individually create your own reality. And so moments like Lion's Gate or equinox or eclipses and these type of things, this is a moment to stop, pull your energy from the third dimension, allow yourself to feel and connect inward, and allow yourself to receive the support that you have from all the dimensions of light, because that's always positive. So it's a vortex. It's a vortex of opening for light.
Now, we've kind of mentioned this in our conversation with Christy that, the politics are pretty heavy this year. They've always been heavy, but it seems like
Amplified.
Amplified. I think that's a much better word. Thank you. It's an amplify. It's definitely amplified because not just here in the United States, but around the world, there's over 50% of the countries in the world having elections this year. So there seems to be a great shift in energy. What is the spiritual purpose of these kind of divided times, especially here in the States? But we're not exclusive. There's a lot of division around the world. But in the States specifically, everything seems to be really amplified. Everything's being cranked up to 11 on the rhetoric and the splits and, the world's coming to an end. And what is the spiritual purpose for us as a people? Because, again, whatever happens here kind of ripples through the rest of the world.
Yes, it's a tipping point. Because as something is, let's just say this, there's a old story about a man that would sit on his porch and his dog would sit there, and every day the dog would grrr, and a neighbor would watch this happening because they would go on their walk every day, and they'd say, "Sir, what's wrong with your dog?" And the man said, "Well, he's sitting on a nail. And it's uncomfortable, but it's not uncomfortable enough that he gets up and moves." So when you create this uncomfortableness, when you have this absolute, what is the word? Frustration and fear. It's like the pandemic. When this all happened, Christy said, "Counsel, she's funny. What's the deal? Why is this happening?" And we said it is an amplification time. Everything will be amplified. And so this amplification time is still continuing. It's being amplified in solar flares, in asteroids, and in presidential candidate elections. It is amplified within the human minds because it is that terrorized fear and worry that has you either break down or break through. As they call it, the dark night of the soul, there really is no dark night of the soul. The soul is always in pure positive energy. It's the person that is feeling the split. It's that split energy. Imagine you had a foot in two different boats, and the boats are splitting apart. At some point, you need to choose a different boat because you're going to go right in the water or hurt yourself in the process. So this split energy is going to create more of a coming together in less of the third dimensional negativity of what is so wrong and bad and blame and all this. This has to happen because there is some that are so tired of it that they're going, I'm not even in, like Christy, after that comment about John Stamos, right? She's like, how could someone just be negative about something like this? I'm done. She got off social media. That was the straw that broke the camel's back for her. And she's been happier that ever since. She's noticed she's got more of her control of her own input and isn't doing the hypnotic scroll, seeing things and images that she didn't choose to see that just happened to be on her feed, even though she was very selective of what she and who she was with, right? So that's a moment of, I'm done with that. I'm done with that. This does not serve me. I'm done with it. And that's where the empowered ones of you will get to a point in saying, I'm done with this old thinking. I want something new. I'm done with this pushing against this. I am here for a short time and this doesn't matter. What does matter is this. It's a breaking point. It's a birthing point. It's a breakthrough point.
So this amplification that's happening, it seems to be happening everywhere.
It is.
On all aspects and every avenue.
It is.
So religion, politics, finance, economy, healthcare, media, there seems to be an amplification or a rising of the gunk inside, the toxins, if you will.
Yes.
And being brought out into the light to be dealt with. There's a reckoning, if you will.
Yes.
With all of this. what do you see happening in these next 5 or 10 years? Because there's things that have been happening over the last, basically 2020 started off with a bang.
Yes.
And has been constantly elevating and amplifying ever since. Is there going to be a crescendo?
Oh, of course.
When will that crescendo happen?
It will be happening within the next 5 years. There will be a lot of shake up and shake down and breakdown within the next 5 years for sure. Mm-hmm. And what we want to say, it might not be a pleasant experience, but either is what most humans going through right now, is when you think about it, the micro is also the macro. Mm-hmm. If you have toxicity in your body, one of the ways that it comes out is through, say, a pimple, right? Mm-hmm. And the pimple has to come out, it creates, and then it it's not pretty, but that's how it happens. It needs to come out. The what is not needed, or the toxicity, will come out in some way in your human bodies. If you're not focusing on the negativity or the emotional distress, the physical body creates some kind of misalignment or disease. So it's happening all the time. Now it's happening on a global way. And some will, like when they find that they are not well, they die off and new is born. There's always a releasing and a birthing. It is the cosmic way. There is always like a very breath. You breathe in and you breathe out. You breathe in what's needed. You breathe out what is not needed. So as the older generations, like even Christy's father who just passed and people like that, as that old way of thinking and that very concrete, can't change, gotta be this way, there's no other way, as that is releasing and more is coming in, that is more open and focused on love and focused on support and focused on wholeness and oneness, this will create a rebalancing within the world. You think about it. In human history, there was the plague, where it killed off a lot of people. But what happened after that time is the Renaissance period, where there was great creation of paintings and music, and people started allowing themselves to get into alignment in a very different way they did before the plague. So it's going to all rebalance itself out. And when you are an individual that is allowing light to spread throughout your own life, and not only for yourself, but letting those waves, like you are, Alex, by what you're doing just with this podcast, more and more people are going to start hearing that spiritual truth. Because we will say to you, what's on the third dimension is, and many try to spew it, it's lack, it's limitation, it's not enoughness, and that's not the spiritual truth. Mm-hmm. Light is, it's everything. Light is everywhere. Light is accessible to everyone. Light creates miracles. Light is that love that connects. Light is that unending, forever, no death, pure possibilities, pure potential. That is spiritual truth. And so the minute someone is focusing on the doom and gloom or what's not right or good, they are constricting their own connection to light, and light is the miracle maker.
Now, we mentioned media a lot, social media and mainstream media. I come from Hollywood, and I've studied it and been in it for many, many years, decades now. But I've also seen an amplification in media, not just Hollywood, but in all media. But let's focus on traditional media, movies, TV, news, that kind of stuff. What is your opinion of where that old system is going to go, and what will come to replace that system?
Well, what you see it happening now, where you have YouTube, for example, where someone like yourself doesn't have to wait for one of the three major film companies or even the be on the news. Back when Christy started as an author, there wasn't all of this, and to get her, say, book out there, she had to go on the Today Show or right? Those were those places where, and it was very limited, where only select few, and they were you went through a process where you were vetted and all of that. Now anybody with a microphone can spread their message, and some messages like yours are filled with light and are creating a new type of consciousness, and some are negative. But again, it's what each individual will go towards. Everything is changing. We see it happening for the better. There will be breakdown before there is breakthrough. But there are more like the George Lucases that create these type of movies to enlighten, to appeal to someone's entertainment, but not have to be. Christy was getting so irritated. She was trying to watch movies on Netflix and choosing something, and the first scene is everybody is getting shot. And really, why? What is that? What is uplifting about that? Your consciousness, each individual, will demand what you want to see. And the streaming services and what you choose, as more are choosing to be inspired, more directors need to get into that, like a George Lucas or the other big director, Steven, thank you. These men created from a higher perspective to put in, like, and even Ron Howard, that type of director where he is creating. You leave out of the movie theater, or you stop your movie on your streaming device, and you feel good. And it's not everybody, the prince comes and
saves the princess.
Yes, and that type of world. But there's a storyline. There's a lesson to it. There's something that someone can learn and grasp and understand, and then be able to be a better human for it. It's moving towards that, but you always will. We were telling a group of transformational leaders, and there's this one man that said, listen, I live on this side of the spectrum where I feel like my life is rainbows and unicorns and lollipops, and I want the rest of the world to be like that too. And we said, but if you're focusing on those over here that are not there, it lowers your vibration. The best type of leader you could be is focusing on your own alignment, because as you are focusing on someone's misalignment, you're out of your own alignment. Mm-hmm. So that is what we need more, on all of you desire, is more people in their alignment that is spreading more messages. It's not just for, it used to be religious leaders or someone that had their big TV show like a Joel Osteen, right? More and more of that, of people that have experienced miracles and then report about it, write about it, create movies with it. We're working with directly a woman that is a actress, producer, director, and as we are helping her reach more light in her life, her projects that she's working on are changing. It's like exactly what you were talking about. You can drink and you can smoke and you can eat the cake, and that's great. Enjoy that. There's no judgment. But there'll be a point when you start to get higher in your vibration that those things will not bring you the type of pleasure that other things, connection, true listening to your show, for example, having connection of deeper soul connection. Not just personality to personality connection.
And just like in other industries, I see that Hollywood's industry specifically, it seems to be eating itself alive.
Yes.
It seems to be consuming itself in a way that I've studied Hollywood since its birth, and I've never seen it the way it is today. It's literally just destroying itself from the inside. There's no one outside doing anything to it. It's coming from the inside. Do you see that happening not only in Hollywood, but do you see that happening in all these other industries?
Indeed. When you look at just even producers that were accused of sexually harassing women, for example, that all came like a beautiful pimple to the surface that needed to come out.
Yeah.
And now there is justification and justice being done to those that have tried to exert their power on those that did not have any. Mm-hmm. It started with Anita Hill. I mean, look at all of these different things that have happened within your time of being on the planet. Mm-hmm. If you really you can look at both. It's like the song from Styx, right? These are the best of times, but the newspaper said these are the worst of times. It's what you choose to focus on and what influence you in your own life, in your own now moment, choose to make of it. Because if you're thinking, oh, this is the worst of times, then you're not going to feel good. You're going to be in lack. If you're thinking these are the best of times, you're going to feel good and you're going to feel expanded. It's all in your perspective. Christy was having lunch with her uncle, who's in his 70s, her cool uncle. She's always thought he was really cool. And all of a sudden he goes, well, we're in a crazy time right now, and everything's going to hell in a handbasket and blah, blah, blah. And she said, gosh, you sound like a grumpy old man. And he said, I guess I do. And she said, well, what's positive in your life? You like pickleball, and yeah, pickleball's good, right? The minute she shifted that conversation and started talking about what was a pleasure in his life, the whole conversation shifted. And they were talking about his father, her mother's father, her grandfather, and stories about him. And they were laughing and giggling. But the conversation started with, oh, the hell in the hand. It's where you focus. Where are you choosing to take your precious moments? This is a temporary passport that all of you have. As you said many times, in 100 years, there's going to be strangers living in your house. You're here now. Your power is now. The energy is supporting you now. But what you all have in ways that you focus, that's going to be what you create.
Now, as far as another institution that I wanted to touch upon is the religious institutions. I pick a lot on the Vatican and the Roman Catholics as being a former member of that religion, but there are many established religions around the world. The cracks are showing in all of them, and there's a lot of pimples popping off on that. What place does these institutions have in 50 or 100 years from now?
They will not be like they are today, because when more people start taking their power back, and that's what we're really talking about. Christy, too, was raised in the Roman Catholic religion and did all the things except for get married and in the Catholic Church. And she felt moments of the light truth that carried her in her faith, but the restrictions of don't do this and can't do this and can't eat meat on Friday and all. Christy would say to her dad, what does me not eating meat on Friday have to do with me being connected or loved or anything? Or driving into the church parking lot and everybody's, oh, peace be with you and blessings and all that. And then they get into the parking lot and they're yelling at each other because they can't get out and they're right? That she would say that's so hypocritical. It's about individual power. And like we said earlier, those constrictions and those restrictions, many people have grown up with them. Chrissy's mother is one who never questioned authority, never questioned it. Never questioned her mother and her father, never questioned the authority of the Catholic Church. But Christy is one that did. That doesn't make sense. Why do I have to take a wafer in order to receive God? Isn't Christ everywhere? Does Christ not love me, or Christ consciousness, the energy of Christ consciousness? Is it not available for me if I don't choose to take a wafer or not? And that kind of questioning and that kind of awareness is coming more and more. Even those that have been following and they have a certain faith, if it works for them. But a lot of them, you'll see, there's a lot less people going to these churches and finding fulfillment. They might do it because it's an obligation, but they're not finding that deeper connection. And there's more, like Christy, like yourself, that are wanting to go deeper, that are wanting to understand. And this old story of what's been told for thousands of years, it really doesn't sink. It doesn't go deep, because the truth is Jesus Christ, Jesus of Nazareth, he was the first energy master. He knew it's not just me that has these powers. All of you have these powers. I am not the only one that can turn water into wine or heal someone. Look at what's happening now. There's more and more healers that are able to take someone from where they are not to where they want to be and help heal them. It wasn't just him. He was the first influencer. He wanted to influence everybody to know that they too are a child of God. Not just, he wasn't, hey, I'm the special one. Every single one of you have the power that he had, because consciousness is what Christ is. It's that a light consciousness, and all of you have access to that. You don't have to go through a middleman like a priest or a nun or a monk to be able to go direct.
Mm-hmm. Now, another area that people are really concerned about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on, is the economy, is our monetary system. There seems to be a lot of pimples coming out. I love that term, by the way. I'm going to use that.
Perfect.
There's a lot of pimples that are
It's not sexy, but it works.
It's not sexy, but boy, it's a visual. There seems to be a lot of pimples coming out from that industry as well. As far as our money, our government's money, manipulation of currency, all this kind of stuff, it doesn't seem to be serving us the way it once did. I don't know how much farther it can go before it pops, no pun intended.
Yes.
And when it pops this time, we've had a lot of pops over the years, the Great Depression, 87, 2008. There's been many, the 70s and so on. But we are so overdue for a pop, because it's usually a cycle of 8 to 10 to 12 years tops, but it's been a lot longer than that, because it's been artificial. It seems to me, at least, to be artificially propped up, artificially manipulated. But the music's going to stop, and there's not going to be any chairs for anyone to sit in. I'd love to hear your thoughts of what do you see happening for our economy, and how can we manage through what's going to be coming down the line.
So this is not a pimple, this is a zit. This is a boil, right?
Wow.
Is right. So if we're really going to get gross, let's get gross. But this is what we're talking about. It's a bigger one. And a lot of those other ones also contribute. Everything is interconnected. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing to understand, is the idea that there's not going to be any chairs. That's a perspective of lack, and that there's not going to be anything for anybody, and it's going to collapse and all that. You all create your individual economy. Mm-hmm. You and, for example, just the success of your show, mm-hmm. and where you are, the lack and the limitation that you experienced before, and the wrestling and the driving and the striving and the hard work, you released that. You still work hard, but what you're now experiencing, instead of that push, that drive, is more effortlessness, mm-hmm. right? That needs to break down in order for people to understand, I create my own wealth. I create my own abundance. And it starts with inside of me. So even in those times of the Depression, and even in those times of that you mentioned, there were great millionaires that were made.
Billionaires
Yeah. Even. There were great opportunities. And so it's those that are aligned, that are open, that are not looking for what you can't have, but are looking for curiosity and what is going to be next. The world is not going to come to an end, and the world is not going to collapse from a financial or economic perspective in the way that you all think it is. It's all in what you make it. In 2008, Christy took a group of 10 people through an abundance principle coaching program, and 9 out of those 10 people were in the housing industry. And it was not a good time for them, and that's why they invested. One of them was a hairdresser. And all of them during this time, by focusing on their true abundance, because this is something, your third dimension is just a reflection of what is focused on. And when you focus on that the universe is abundant, you see evidence of it. So after just a couple of weeks, and they were all terrified in the start of this, there was construction workers, there was interior designers, all facets of housing, right? Real estate market, mortgage broker, all that. All of them were thriving in their industry when the rest couldn't even pay their bills and were losing their own homes. Mm-hmm. And the hairdresser was all excited because she was getting perms and extensions, were not just haircuts. So she was making more money. And so you all have to know from a absolute spiritual principle, the law of sufficiency and abundance, when those pimples pop, that still applies. The universal laws. Christy's been talking about the 7 essential laws forever, and they are universal principles. What you send out comes back. That's law of attraction. She would like to say it's like a boomerang. You send a boomerang out, it comes back to you, right? The law of sufficiency and abundance. This universe is sufficient. This universe is abundant. And if you think about and start looking for evidence of your abundance, it's like her grandma would say, she cries with a loaf of bread under her arm. It means be grateful for your daily bread, because this bread, you have more than you even know about. And so even those shifts and changes, as you are focusing on the energy of abundance, the energy of success, the energy of wholeness, oneness, that you are universally loved, you are then bringing that in, and that becomes your unique life experience. Even if the rest of the world feels like it's crumbling, you get to stay solid in your alignment, because first it's here and then it's here.
So everything that we've spoken about in our conversation today, Council, is that we are truly in control of our perspective, our lens that we look at the world through. And no matter what is happening, and I'm so glad you brought that up. It's like anytime there has been an economic downturn, billionaires are made.
Indeed.
Businesses are started all the time.
All the time.
While people are on bread lines.
Yes.
There were others who perspective was completely different, and they built huge companies and built and did a lot of good for the world, and so on and so forth.
Indeed.
So it truly is about your perspective on all aspects of your life, is to be in line with your own story that you're telling yourself.
Yes.
And what story are you going to tell yourself? The story that they're feeding you, or the story that you're in control of? Does that make sense?
It 100%. What conversations are you engaging with other people, or even with yourself? Because I can't do this. This is they're excuses of, well, this is going to happen and that can happen and that. Yes, all of these things are possibilities on the lack side or over here. But what if you're telling yourself, wow, what if this happened in a good way, right? What if the world gets better? What if the pimples pop and then the skin gets cleared again, right? Mm-hmm. There's always healing. When there's a fire, a forest fire, what happens after the fire? New growth. Life grows.
And without the fire, the new growth can't happen.
Indeed.
You can't have life without death.
Indeed.
In all aspects of life.
Absolutely.
It is a cycle. In every aspect, the economic cycle of your physical body, everything has to die. Even your own perspective, which is that thing that you were talking about, the dark night of the soul. That's the death of the old ideas and the beginning of these new ideas. But they need to die first.
Something needs to die in order for something to live. Even Frederick would say that when no matter what animal in order for something to live, something has to die. Christy lives in a desert area, and she saw a bobcat chase a bunny, and she loves having the bunnies all around. Well, the kitty cat needed to eat too, so something had to die. Whether you're a vegetarian, that stalk of broccoli had to die in order to feed you. There is always death, there is always rebirth. But when you're in the space of living, there's life and then there's living. And both are very, very different. There's the having and then the not having. So when you realize that you have life, that's when you have access to all that life wants to give you. Jesus, for example, didn't say, take a little bit of the kingdom. He said, seek the kingdom of love, the kingdom of light, the kingdom of abundance.
Which is within you.
Which is absolutely within you, dear one.
I could keep talking for at least another 2 or 3 hours with you, Counsel. Do you have any parting messages for the audience after this amazing conversation?
Yes, what it really dials down to is that each of you do have power. You have power of choice. It's why it's called free will and choice. You all have freedom. It's all what you all seek is you want freedom from the worry. You want freedom from the stress. You want freedom from the outer pressures. And you have that by focusing on what power you have. And the power that all of you have is you have your spiritual power, which feeds into your personal power. You have universal love, which you can then bring into and then express. It's like a breath. Express that love out and bring that love in. Where you focus creates your reality every single time. And if you're in a space where you're in doom and gloom, or you're worried about your life right now, or something somewhere doesn't feel good to you, you and only you have that power to change.
I appreciate you coming on the show again, and thank you for all your wisdom today. I appreciate you.
We are very grateful, and we are very delighted to be here, and we are so happy for the impact you are making on this planet, dear one. We applaud you for your light service.
Thank you.
Indeed. Wanted to say, and this is truth, and we want all of you to feel this. You are infinitely loved. Be well. Allow yourselves to receive. Just imagine a beautiful downpouring of light, just filling up your body, filling up all of your cells, like all of your cells are little tiny cups of light. Just breathe in light.
And we're back.
And we're back.
How do you feel?
Good. Yeah, really good.
You don't get drained?
Not right now, no. Sometimes I do after I'm working with clients sometimes, but I feel good right now.
You're good now?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you remember nothing?
Mm-mm.
Girl, we were
What'd you
talking
talk
about
about?
you.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, girl,
Did
you
they
got
say
some stuff to
something
work
nice?
about you. No.
See, that's one thing I know is that they might share my dirty laundry, but
they dished on you, boy. No.
They'll spin it in a way that's good, though.
No, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful conversation. It is.
Thank you.
It's a needed conversation, and I think once you watch this back, you'll understand what we meant. But we touched upon a lot of things, and it's a lot of concerns that people have, but it ends up always coming back to just being in your own perspective, listening to the story that, hopefully the positive story that you're creating for yourself,
Yeah.
and not to listen to the outside as much.
They just said conversations. What conversations are you engaging in, even in your own mind?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all my guests.
Okay.
What is your definition of living a fulfilled life?
Understanding that there will be contrast, meaning things that you don't want, but knowing that by focusing on what you want and why you want it and how you want to proceed, how you want to feel, that we're the ones in the power. So something might manifest that doesn't feel good, right? Like the lady with the cart, for example. But then it's like, do we stay stuck on that? Because I could have ruminated on that for another 20, 30 years, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
We do it all the time with what our parents might have said, or what that kid said in the schoolyard.
Yeah. So it's like, what conversation am I allowing in my head? What am I going to focus on? Do I accept that, or do I? And that's the whole flow factor is am I letting that back part of my brain? Because here's the part. That amygdala part of our brain, that animalistic part of our brain that has our normal coping mechanism, we can free that up let that energy go, because if it's stuck here in the brain, then we can't have the energy flow to our third eye, which is our vision. And so when we notice that we're fighting someone or something, or we're like, I'm out of here, which is that flight, or some people just get like frozen in time. I don't want anything. I don't want to do anything. I'm just going to stay here. These are indications that we're in that coping mechanism. And when we can release that, the energy can flow forward, and then we can have more insight. We can have more deeper connection. We can see a brighter future. And so, that's important. So I'm excited for that new book to come out, but it's not coming out till next year.
If you had a chance to go back in time and speak to little Christy, what advice would you give her?
John Stamos asked for your phone number. No. I did a telepathic thing. I'm like, someday as you're looking at that poster, he's going to ask for your phone number. No, I have gone back. That's part of my healing work that I do with people, is to go back and to look at those places where I didn't feel loved, or I felt rejected, or I felt abandoned, and to let her know it's all BS. It's just perspective. And the little parts of us, we have concrete thinking. It's this way or that way. I'm loved or I'm not. There's no spectrum. And so many times I have gone back to her and said, this wasn't your fault. So don't have that perspective. Change your perspective, because you are loved. And the council says you are infinitely loved. Whatever you get judged for, whether you're lazy or not, whatever you get judged for, that's other people's judgments. And you don't have to judge yourself the same way.
How do you define God or source?
Everything, all that is. I mean, it's energy. It's all around us. It's infinite. It's our support. It's our life. I mean, we're breathing in life, and we're breathing in God. We're breathing in source. We are fully sourced. So it's all that is. It's all that is seen. God's in everything. Like, life is in everything. It's everything that's manifested, and it's everything that's not. And when we can really feel that source, that's true happiness. Because when we're disconnected from it and we feel like we're all alone, that's when we feel bad. That's when we're in terror.
What is love?
It's the most pure positive energy. It's flow. It feels good. It feels expansive. Love is an energy, and it's a way of being. It's a state of mind. Love is everything. Love is the power that creates all universes.
And what is the ultimate purpose of life?
To have fun, to enjoy, to have pleasure, to grow, to create,
And where can people find out more about you and the amazing work you're doing in the world?
Thank you, Alex. You can go to ChristyWhitman.com. I also have a YouTube channel, Christy Whitman, or you can go to WatchYourWords.com, which is a free program on helping you change your conversations that you have inside your head, because it starts with your words.
And do you have any parting messages for the audience?
Just thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for watching, because the more that you watch Next Level Soul, the more that you listen to the different amazing guests that Alex has on this show, the more you become more positive and you change your perspective. And that just adds more light to the world. So thank you for what you do.
I appreciate you and everything you're doing to awaken the planet, my dear. So thank you again.
Back at you.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.